Hey y'all, this is Nina Stevens, and I'm in the South where sushi is still called bait. So, what am I doing today? Today, I am at my sewing machine. I actually sew quite a bit, but I haven't made a sewing video for my channel yet. So, sewing is therapy for me. It's like my painting. When I'm feeling down or something along those lines, I will come to my sewing machine sometimes and just do something that's fun. So what I did today was I made a sun hat. I had some fun fabric that I had, and I said, that would make a really cute sun hat. So, and I had a pattern, so I thought I would bring you along and show you how I made it, because I think it turned out super cute. Super cute. So I'm going to point you down at the surface and show you the pieces that I have and some little workarounds that I did that are not necessarily by the book. That should surprise you, right? But I'll show you how I did this, and if you decide you want to make one, you can follow along, and hopefully yours will turn out cute like mine. Alright, so let me point you down to the surface and show you what I got. Alright, so these are the two pattern pieces that are included to make this hat. This is the panel. And you've got to cut six from your main fabric and 6 from your lining. This is the brim, and right here it says place it on a fold line. So you've got to cut 2 from your main fabric and 1 from your interfacing. Problem is, I didn't have any interfacing. What I did have was it's like heat bond for fabric. You see this shiny, I don't know if you can see that, the shiny side. So I had this instead of interfacing. So what I did was I cut my interfacing out of a scrap piece of fabric that I had, and I'm going to use this as my interfacing along with the bonding, and I'll show you how I do that. It's pretty straightforward on how to how to cut it out. You just place it on the fold line, cut around, and don't cut your fold. But the panels for the top is where I had the fun with the fabric, and I'll show you what I mean. So here is the brim pieces, and you can kind of see the way the fabric is. All different kinds of dogs, different kinds of dogs. So I said, what a fun idea if I take the panels and I use it to get the dog's face. So when I was cutting out my panels, I just placed the pattern piece over the dog's face, and I cut out that dog to be featured on the crown of the hat. Let me show you what I ended up with. So these are the pieces for the lining. I've got those cut out. There's 6 of those. But where I had my fun was with the panels. So I used this pooch right here as one of the panels. I thought that was super cute. This one. And all I did was place the panel over his face and cut him out. Then I had this one. Little Chihuahua dog. The Labrador and this little black fuzzy one. I thought that was super cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I put the panel pieces together to make the crown. And I'm going to start with the lining. And I'll show you how I did the crown, because the crown is kind of tricky where the points come together. So I'll show you how I did that to make my crown come together like that. So I'll show you how I did that to make that crown lay straight. Alright, so I've got all of my pieces over here on the ironing board, and I have my iron here because each time you sew one of these together, you place them right sides together like this. So you're going to sew along that curve. When you sew that, you've got to bring it over here to your ironing board and press it with the seams going to the right. I'll show you that in just a second, but you may not see me iron because of the view of the camera, but it's over here beside me, so I can just turn and iron it. I'm going to focus you on my sewing area because that's where all the fun happens. And I've got just a little bit of thread left in my bobbin, but I have another bobbin ready to go when this one runs out. We're going to start with the lining pieces. Trying to make sure it stays in frame. So we're going to place those right sides together, and we're going to sew along this curve all the way out to the point. I'm using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. So that's how that looks. I'm going to trim these threads with my little bitty scissors because I don't like them. So when you open it up, you've got a curve. So I'm going to lay it on my iron, and I'm going to iron those. I'm going to iron the seam to the right side. So this is your right side. So I'm going to take another piece and place it right sides together. You can pin this if you're not comfortable just holding it like I'm doing. But on these I don't hold them. So you see how your corner is? You've got your seam folded over. So when you lay out that other piece, it lines up perfectly. So I'm going to sew this seam and press it open. Trim off the bottom, these little threads. So when you open it up, you've got a point there. You see that point? So I'm going to press this seam in the same direction as the other seam. I'm going to press it this way, just like that. That way your point will be clean for the crown of the hat. Alright, so I've got those three pieces sewed together. And you see your point up here is very tight, very clean. So I'm going to do the next three pieces the very same way. Alright, so you've got that one. So now we're going to join these two halves together. And the way that I found to get your top point on your crown perfect is to take those points this point and this point, and match them up together. Like that. Because you ironed your seams in the same direction, you have the seams on this side going one way, like that. The seams on the other side going the other way, so it keeps the bulk down. That way you can match your seam up. So I'm going to match those points together, and I'm going to pin it in place. So then when you line up your edge, you'll be able to sew across that without any difficulty. Now this is a curve, so you have to kind of ease it a little bit. And what I mean by that is, as it's going through the machine, you'll kind of pull it. So I'll show you what I mean. So I've got my hand on the joint, on the point right there, so I'll know where that's at when it's going through the machine. I'm going to go right up to that pin, and then I'm going to take the pin out. Alright, here we go. We're going to check. Did it work? Did it work? It worked. You see those points come together perfectly in the crown. Super cool. So I'm going to press these seams open, and that's your lining for your hat. So what you want to do is you want to do the top exactly the same way, so that you end up with two, and your points on your crown will be exactly the same. So I'm going to press these open, but do you see this part right here where you've got this side going this way, this side's going this way? You clip right in between. Clip that to the seam line, but don't go through your seam. So I'm going to just clip it. Don't go through the seam. And then I'm going to press my seams going in the same direction. There's your crown for your lining. So what I like to do on mine is I like to top stitch along each of these seams. So I'm going to see if I can zoom you in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see. Alright, so I've moved the camera so you can see a little better. I've got my seam on this side. So this silver bar on my foot is what I'm using as a guide. So my seam is there, and that means that it'll put me over 1/4 of an inch from this seam. And we're going to sew all the way to where the point is. We're going to sew all the way to where the point is, and we're going to leave the needle down and pivot and go back out this side, so we can go along this seam. So I'll show you how that works. And to me it gives it a more finished look. So I'm checking underneath to make sure that my seam is laying down flat. We want flat seams, flat seams. They make everything pretty. I'm just guiding it along. And every once in a while I'll check underneath to make sure that my seam is laying flat, because I'm coming into where the point is. So I want to make sure that this is laying down like it's supposed to be. There's the point right there. So we're going to come up to that point. We've got to cross this seam so we can come back down the other side. Alright, leave your needle down, pick up your foot, and pivot. So I'm going to drop my foot and I'm going to come back out this seam here using this side of the silver bar as my guide. So there's your top stitching. So I went all the way, crossed over that seam, left it down, left my needle down to pivot and go back out this side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do this seam, come this way to the point, leave my needle down, pivot and go back out this side, and then I'll do this seam, come this way to the point, leave my needle down, pivot, and go back out this side. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, so this is what the crown looks like. So you can see each of the seams has a top stitching, and they all come together. And they all come together at the crown. So you're going to do this exact same thing with the pieces to the top of your hat. And I'll do that and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I finished 3 pieces of the top. And you can see the point right there. So I'm going to show you on the other 3 pieces again with this close-up view how I got that point to be really, really sharp. So this is my first piece. I'm going to put these right sides together. I'm going to sew along this curve all the way to the point. And all I do is hold the points together. It's, you know, such a short piece that I just hold them together. So when I open them up, I'm going to press the seam to the right. So I took it to my ironing board next to me and I pressed the seam to the right. So now I'm going to turn it. There's my point right there. I'm going to take the last piece, right sides together. Like I said before, you can pin these if you want, if you're not comfortable holding them. So what I do is I pinch it right there on the corner Then lay it in the machine. Drop the foot down. And I go back and I just pinch it together right there on the corner. And when I open it up, I have another sharp point. So I'm going to press these seams in the same direction to the right, just like that. Alright, so this is 1/2 of your crown, and you see your point there. So I'm going to take the other half that I did earlier, and I'm going to match those points together. So I'm going to put it in the machine, and I'm going to reach back and I'm going to hold it where the point is. I'm going to go right to the pin. Take the pin out. So when you open it up, you have your points looking great. So I'm going to press these seams to the right like they're supposed to be, and then I'm going to clip it right between. You have this side going this way, this side going this way, but in between there's an opening. So I'm going to clip it to the seam line. Alright, so there's my point right there. That's the center of the crown. So I'm going to top stitch on top like I did the lining. I'm going to cross over that seam, and then I'm going to stop with my needle down, lift my foot and pivot, and come back out the other side. So there's what the top stitching looks like on top of the crown. Bring it to a point and pivot and go back out the other side. So I'm going to finish top stitching this, and I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like when I'm done. So there's the crown of the hat, and there's what your stitches look like. You come to a point and pivot, go back out the other side, come back in, and that's what the crown of your hat looks like. Your corners are sharp, there's no bulk there. So that's what the crown looks like, and then you have the lining. That's the same way. Same way on the crown of the lining. So that's it for part 1. If you come back tomorrow, I'll show you how I do the brim. I hope you enjoyed following along with me on my little stress reliever. I think it turned out super cute. Super cute little hat. Come back tomorrow and I'll show you how I do the rest of it. That's it for me. Until next time, I'll see you later.